Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I do thank you all for joining us today again as we continue along on this series of exploring why Congress continues to funnel hundreds of billions of dollars to an organization that can't even keep track of how they spend the money. I'm sorry, or I apologize if I don't take, or I can't take as patient a tone as some of my other colleagues, because I think about how even just a small percentage of that money that cannot be held accounted for could fund things like universal school meals or needed infrastructure projects in my district or child care, but instead we don't even know where it is. So, Mr. Khan, if Congress gave DOD unlimited resources to upgrade systems and hire people, how long would it take for the DOD to pass a clean audit?
It's a very good question, Congresswoman Lee. I mean, just laying out the timelines, what DOD is looking towards is 2028. They have the resources. They're working towards that timeline. But you know, whether they need that date or not, it's difficult to predict because they have huge challenges before them as depicted on the scorecard. So it's difficult to answer that question, Congress.
Thank you. So it's more than just getting the right computer systems and staff in place.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Mansfield, would you agree that unless DOD's leadership makes this a priority, we're not going to get a successful audit?
I would agree with that, yes.
Thank you. Auditing DOD is expensive for taxpayers and is lucrative for the corporations that profit from the military-industrial complex. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a June 2024 report from the DOD OIG showing how between fiscal year 2018 and fiscal year 2022, DOD spent more than $4 billion in government and contract costs related to finding solutions to help it achieve a clean audit.
Objection will enter that in the record.
Thank you. So much money for zero results. I think just about anyone else would get fired for that type of failure, yet the DOD faces no consequences. Mr. Mansfield, can you explain some of the management issues that the OIG discovered in reviewing this $4 billion failure to improve its auditability?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that report up. That is, we looked at the department's efforts to contract for remediation efforts and support for the financial statement audits. And so some of the things we found in terms of that was the DOD doesn't have clear definitions of what should be contracted for remediation efforts. And so when trying to compile the amount of effort or to take the amount of effort and put a dollar figure to it that's spent on remediation efforts, it was a little difficult to do because different parts of the department are using different definitions for what is considered remediation. We also went in and looked at some of the contract requirements, and we found that they weren't as clear as they could be. There weren't specific deliverables within some of those remediation contracts, which makes it very difficult for the department to know it got exactly what it paid for. We also found that a number of the efforts underneath those contracts, while they were value-added efforts, were not clearly linked to the department's remediation goals. And so if the department is saying these are our priorities for remediation, but then they're putting money into things that aren't directly aligned to that, it doesn't feel like they're really kind of having a consolidated, focused approach at the remediation.
Thank you, and I thank you for your very thoughtful answer. But the fact remains that the DOD can waste $4 billion on a failure and barely bat an eye. It just shows how much of an overinflated tick the agency is. It's sucking the resources and money from our federal government. No government agency should be held above accountability. And now we must ask ourselves, at what point do we stop using the carrot approach and start using the stick? The solution is clearly not giving DOD more resources and money for passing their audit. That's failed over and over again. They've shown that even with their seemingly unlimited resources, they don't care to work to improve. Maybe what we need are real consequences. Their budget is already overinflated and should be cut regardless of their ability to give a clean audit. So how about slashing their budget every year they fail to deliver a clean audit? Regardless, this isn't a new problem. This has been going on for decades, and their financial mismanagement is the reason they've been on GAO's high-risk list since 1995, meaning it is among the federal government programs and operations most likely to commit waste, fraud, abuse, or mismanagement. The Pentagon must rethink this culture that enables unchecked and unfettered spending at every level and prioritize its financial duty. Failing to do so harms our national security. I do thank you for your time, and with that, I yield back.
Gentleman, excuse me. Gentlewoman yields back to